Hi guys, my name is Rihanna and today I'm going to show you my summer 2019 project, the iconic Disney Belle ball gown. So starting off with the bodice, I took muslin fabric and pinned it tautly around my body form, using tailor's chalk to sketch out the neckline and how I wanted the back to look like. After that, I cut out the muslin pieces and transferred it onto paper, making sure that its measurements resembled my own. And then I was ready to transfer it to the first layer of my bodice. For the construction layer, I used a duck canvas layer to cut out the pattern pieces. This will be used to hold up the boning and structure the bodice. So after cutting out the pattern pieces and sewing them together, I pinned it onto my body just so I could have a more fitted look. And after that, I went ahead and created a new pattern and made a new layer with the same fabric. To make the corset holes, I doubled up a layer of duck canvas and sewed it together so it would be thick enough for the grommets, and then measured out 4 different holes on each side. And right now you're watching me just figure out a way to make sure that the pins on each side will be even. So this way I'm using some straight pins, pinning it on opposite side and making marks, just so I can make sure when it laces up together that it looks correct. Now taking the canvas layer out to a hard surface, I went ahead and installed the grommet pieces. In the middle of doing eyelets for the first time, life hack, don't use the tool at all times. This one side was sticking up, so I was like, let me just hammer it down. That's cool, but you live, you learn. Luckily, with the ribbon covering up, it should not be too much of a problem, so we'll see. We'll also have to figure out how to take it apart and buy a whole new set to put another one in, but twice life. Let's go ahead and finish the rest. Life did go on, and the ribbon did end up covering up the grommet nicely, and then we had a first look of our finished layer without the boning. So adding on the boning, I went ahead and measured out each seam line on how long I needed the boning to be, and taking bias tape and sewing it on the sides as closely as possible to make boning channels. After that, I cut out the boning with wire cutters, take some tape to cover up the sharp ends, and also filed it down a little and put it in. This was my first time using boning, and I think it turned out pretty well. Onto the main part of the bodice, I used 3 fabrics to give it a nice texture and color. First, using a golden satin fabric, then the second layer was a sparkle organza, and the third layer was a textured sparkle tulle. I went ahead and top stitched all the layers together before sewing the pieces together, just to make sure I could keep track of everything over time. And I went ahead and hand stitched it to the structure layer while watching some hardcore tabletop. And the first part of the outer bodice was done, and it was just time to add on the details. So for the off-shoulder sleeves that Belle has, I used the same sparkle organza that I used for the bodice, and pinned it onto the bodice while it was attached to the body form, measuring out how I wanted each sleeve to look, how puffy I wanted it, how long I wanted it, and how long I wanted it to droop. And then I went ahead and cut it out and sewed it together. So this is one side of the, I guess, sleeve of Belle's bodice. So I cut a triangle formation so it will be thinner in the front. I did a gather in the middle where I'll be touching you on my shoulder, and then 2 gathers on the side to give this nice puffy effect. The yellow broadcloth, I went ahead and took the pattern and made a lining. I added a modesty panel using the same fabric, sewed on the sleeves, added a rose decal in the middle, and we had a finished bodice. With the bodice completed, it was time to move on to the skirt. And I don't have a lot of footage or photos of the skirt while I was making it. I was up on campus working a summer job, and I was sewing as often as I could during breaks. And since my breaks would be short sometimes, I wasn't focused on filming as much as I was on sewing. But I'll still explain it the best that I can. Because I'd never made a ball gown skirt before, I used the Belle Simplicity pattern to help guide me on the way of making the skirt. I took the overskirt pattern and applied it to the same satin fabric that I used for the bodice, and more or less followed the same instructions, but edited some stuff to make it fit more of the vision that I had for Belle. For example, when I gathered it, I didn't pick certain points to gather to, and instead just gathered until I couldn't anymore. That gave the skirt the effect I was looking for that resembled a cartoon a little bit more. And because how I gathered the skirt, I was concerned that a zipper might ruin how the gathers look on one side of the panels. So instead, I opted for an elastic waistband. So making this elastic waistband, I cut out a piece of satin fabric twice the size of my waist, and then 2 elastic pieces the size of my waist, and just a little bit tighter just so it holds up such a heavy skirt. I then just sewed the elastic on one side of the waistband, folded it over, sewed it together until I had an elastic band, and sewed it onto the skirt. Using a light yellow broadcloth, I followed the underskirt pattern from the Simplicity pattern and just followed the instructions and attached it to the waistband. To finish the ends of the skirt to avoid fraying, I took the underskirt and the overskirt to my serger. Onto the accessories. So, to make Belle's ribbon that's tied to her hair, I ended up making a scrunchie. So just cutting out a long piece of fabric, making it twice the size that I wanted the scrunchie to be, and then sewing it into a tube. I then put some elastic inside the tube and sewed it together, and we had a scrunchie. Alright, and then that's the dress. It took a long time making it, but in the end, wearing it did truly make me feel like a princess. Thank you all for watching, and comment below if you have any questions. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos. See you!